What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV back here for another episode of Player Ratings as we got absolutely torn apart at Selhurst Park yesterday. 3-0 to Crystal Palace on the day. Absolutely shocking result. But let's get straight into the player ratings. And actually, we're doing it a bit different this time from now on. We're going to be giving a rating each and discussing it between us. So let's start off, without further ado, let's start off with Hugo Lloris, and yeah, there we go, exactly the same rating. We both give him a 5. I mean, it was probably his poorest display of the season so far. It wasn't that commanding from crosses and stuff like that. I thought his distribution let him down on the day, and it just wasn't a very commanding performance like we have seen so far this season.
Yeah, let him down that one moment, obviously, when he played out to Dier and Dier had to overstretch and cause the injury. That was pretty much the start of what was not a great day for Hugo. But I thought in the first half he did come for a few corners that were in dangerous areas, got a good hand to it and was able to just about get it away from danger. And I thought he was dealing with them okay. He did misjudge a cross in the second half, which nearly found a way to the back of the net. Luckily for him, Reguilón was out at the back post to save him from embarrassment. I don't think he could have done much with the first 2 goals. Third goal, though, he'll be a bit disappointed. He got a very strong hand to that, and it still ended up in the back of the net. Looking back at that, he'll feel like he probably should have kept it out, but ended up going in the back of the net. So, all in all, not a good day at the office for Hugo. But in the first half, did make a good save to keep it a 0-0. And I think if things were different,
he could have ended. Conor Gallagher one.
Yeah. So if things were different, he could have. It could have been a different outcome for him. But I think, yeah, it was not a great day for him.
Yeah, let's move on to Emerson Royal, debutant. We both gave him a 4, and I thought it was a poor debut, in my opinion. I thought defensively, especially in the second half, was getting torn to shreds by Wilfried Zaha. Look, he did start the game well, but it just went downhill from there, really, and it did look like in the first 15 minutes or so he was going to have a really good game, commanding on the right-hand side. But I felt after that he really did fail to take on his fullback, failed to get in crosses, and was weak defensively.
Yeah, it wasn't a great day at the office for Emerson. I felt bad for him because it was a really tough game to come into. I thought in the first 20 minutes or so he was defending quite well. Aerially, he looked like really strong in the air. He was competing really well, and defensively he had a lot of support, and I felt like he was adjusting okay. He was getting forward decently without much quality at the end of it. I thought it was an okay start, but right at the end of the first half, he kind of got spun by Zaha, and then that was a kind of a sign of things to come for Emerson. In the second half, again, when got the opportunity to get forward, he didn't seem to have the confidence to really stride into hurtful positions in Palace's defence. And definitely, as soon as the red card happened, he was in big trouble. And he was tasked with pretty much covering a lot of ground and dealing with Zaha, and he just wasn't up to it. Zaha had him on toast for those final half an hour. He really struggled to deal with him big time, and it was a struggling debut for him.
Yeah, it was always going to be a tall order coming in on your debut away at Crystal Palace, which is always a hard place to go, and against Wilfried Zaha as well. Debut in the Premier League. I mean, we were saying before the game how we thought he should maybe be eased in, and that proved the case, to be honest. It really did. Let's move on to Eric Dier. I gave him a 5, Sim gave him a 6.
Look, last 15 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. He went off after 12 minutes injured, so really not much to note there.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for him. It wasn't his fault that he got a really bad pass from Hugo, so it wasn't his fault. But other than that, I thought he played quite well for the first 15 minutes, but he got one off injured. Hopefully it's not too long, but it doesn't look like a good one.
Let's move on to Japhet Tanganga. Sim gave him a 5. I gave him a 3. I'm probably being a bit harsh here with the 3 because I did think he was very good before he got sent off. He was very commanding, centre-back with Joe Rodon. I thought they were both really impressive together. But at the end of the day, he was at fault, and it was definitely a very bad, inexperience really shone through there with Japhet Tanganga. He gets in a scuffle with Wilfried Zaha, gets booked. Zaha gets booked. There's a whole scuffle, and it was a very heated exchange. And then literally 5 minutes later, he goes lunging in, gets sent off, and the game goes completely out the window. And you've got to put a lot of all the blame on Japhet's shoulders for that. And yeah, look, the team wasn't set up in the right way. First of all, and the team weren't performing great, but we were still in the game at 0-0, and Japhet does something very, very silly and gets sent off, and it completely ruined the game for us. So that's why I had to mark him down very low.
Yeah, fair enough. I thought he was having, the only reason I gave him a 5 was just because I thought he was playing really well before the sending off. But obviously, that did cost us the game, didn't it? Big time. Without the sending off, who knows what would have happened for the last half an hour or so. So he really put us on the back foot, and it was pretty much the reason we lost the game, I think, is because of that red card. I don't know if we would have lost if it wasn't for it. So it was a rush of blood to the head, really poor, and a bit of immaturity as well from Jaffet, so he'll learn from it, and hopefully, he's only out for one game, but we missed the Chelsea game, unfortunately for him. Hopefully he'll come back a smarter player after what happened, and he'll know you can't do those kind of challenges when you're on a yellow card, but for the first hour or so, he was really good. He was really strong. He was dealing with Benteke really well, so I'll give him a bit of credit for that. But yeah, that red card was a big moment in the game.
Definitely. Sergio Reguilon, Sim gives him a 6, I give him a 5. I thought defensively he was all right, but the way we were set up, we really relied on the fullbacks to really bomb on and really create attacks for us, and they just didn't do that. Emerson and Reguilon, I thought he just wasn't getting forward nowhere near enough, and that's what you need from Reguilon yesterday. But, defensively he was good, like the moment you spoke about before, that goal line clearance from Reguilon to save Hugo's blushes. But we really need him to start kind of providing an attacking outlet on that left-hand side for us, and he just didn't do that yesterday.
Yeah, I thought it was impossible for him to do it in the second half because of the red card. I think he literally, the few times he did do it, he had literally had no support, and he was like looking like, who can I pass to? And there was literally no one to pass to. In the first half, I did actually think he went forward quite a few times and was providing quite a good outlet. A few times Hojbjerg was able to switch play to him in a good position. He didn't make the most of it, unfortunately, but I did think he was getting forward actually quite nicely in that first half, especially for the first 25 minutes or so. He was until we got penned back too much. But I think he was actually a pretty solid game from Reguilon. I don't think there was too much wrong with how he performed per se. So I think he dealt with Ayew pretty comfortably, and I didn't have too much beef. I think I just think the red card kind of ruined it for him a bit.
Let's move us over to Harry Winks. 3s all round from us from Harry Winks. We were all kind of not sure why Harry Winks was in that team, especially as Skipp was in there as well, and that seemed to prove the case. I mean, everyone seemed to be proved right with Harry Winks every time he steps on the football pitch for Tottenham Hotspur, and yesterday was absolutely no different. I thought he was anonymous in there in the middle of the park, always dragged out of position, and just didn't impact the game whatsoever.
Yeah, and I thought not only that, there was a few times I noticed that off the ball, when he needs to get tighter to a wing back or a centre mid who's about to put in a cross, he kind of just lazily trots out and like half-heartedly tries to block it without really trying to block it. And it was, I felt like it was a bit of a lazy performance as well from Winks. There were a few times he was competing in there, made a few interceptions, but it was just like these moments are way too few and far between for a central midfielder who's supposed to be impacting the game in a positive way. His passing, he didn't try anything too adventurous. He had the highest passing rate, pass completion rate in the team, but that was no coincidence because his passes were completely safe, always backwards, or if it was a pass forward, it was just a pass like into a unthreatening area. He didn't get any passes into Lucas or to Kane or to Dele where they could really hurt Palace. It was all just very, very safe and nothing that could, I don't know, it was just really poor. Dribbling wise, I don't remember any times he took on anyone and tried to get forward. And a few times as well, he had time on the ball to make a pass, and then he would take too long. And then once he made the pass, it would be like a sloppy pass, and he'll nearly give it away and stuff like that. So, really poor again from Winks in a position where I don't know, in the left of a midfield 3, where I don't know if he's most natural there. So I don't know why he played there, but he was selected there. And it was a really, really bad performance.
There was one moment I remember watching from the stands. The ball comes into midfield to one of the Palace midfielders. I can't remember who it was at the time or where.
I think when he bottled the challenge.
Yeah, exactly. And Winks comes up to him to engage, and he just completely bottles it. He could have won it,
and he could have won that challenge as well.
That pissed me off so much.
He did bottle that challenge. Everyone was going mad at that one as well. He did completely bottle that.
But let's move on to his partner, Ollie Skipp, who was not that much better on the day. We both gave him a 4. And look, at the end of the day, it was pretty similar to a Winks performance. It was just a bit slightly better. He was putting himself about a bit more, winning the ball a bit more in the centre of the park. But still, for me, I know he's a young player coming through, but he's a first-team player now. He's playing week in, week out, so you've got to call him out when he doesn't have a good game. And I don't think he had a good game yesterday.
Yeah, I think Skipp was a bit better than Winks, only because I think his role was a different role to Winks. Winks was clearly given, I think, a bit more license to maybe get on the ball and go forward a bit more than Skipp. We know Skipp plays the deepest role in the central midfield, and I don't think he did too badly defensively, unlike Winks. I thought he was a different level on that bit of that thing. I don't think he was as much liability as Winks was. He was getting stuck in. He was making good, decent challenges.
You know, Skipp is never going to bottle out a challenge, that's for sure.
Yeah, unlike Winks did a few times. His passing, though, a few times he was asked to pass the ball quickly and get it into the attacking areas, and he was sloppy and he was giving it away and he was putting us under pressure, and it wasn't a great display from Skipp on the ball, and it led for sure to why we were so poor on the ball. So unfortunately for Skippy, not his best day, but I don't think he was helped by the team around him.
Yeah. Which is a bit similar to the next player we're going to talk about, which is PierreEmerick Hojbjerg.
I'm pretty sure I gave him a 5, didn't I?
No, I think you gave him a 4.
No,
you gave him a 4. You gave him a 4. I gave him a 5. But look, I think it was. Well, you're changing it to 5.
No, I meant 5.
Oh, you meant 5.
Yeah.
Look, I think with Hojbjerg, again, it wasn't his greatest display. Not helped by the team around him. He was trying very, very hard there in the middle of the park, running around like a headless chicken, trying to bring the game back on side, but it was just an impossible task for him, really.
I think he was the only one really in the centre who had provided any sort of quality. He was doing some pirouettes, which was getting himself out of trouble, moving the ball forward quite nicely in certain areas. But
he was just hounded out every time.
Yeah, a couple of times he was doing some really great switches of play to Reguilon in decent positions, but it was, again, only really happened in the first 25 minutes or so, and it petered out. And again, like we're hoping Hojbjerg can go forward and create something for us, but he's not. It's not most naturally to him. Look, he can be quite good at it as long as you have more creative players with him who can supplement that. But if you're going to rely on him for creativity, you've got a bit of a problem. And I think having him going, trying to help out Kane, Son, and not Son, Kane, Lucas, and Dele didn't quite work out. But I did think he was better than Skipp and Winks.
Yeah, he was. Let's move on to Dele Alli. Sim gives him a 5. I gave him a 4. I mean, for me, I thought Dele Alli was tirelessly running around the place, working very, very hard, as he has done all for the first 3 games of the season. But at the end of the day, he wasn't in that role as he was done in the first 3 games, where he was a deep-lying midfielder. I mean, he was part of a front 3 or whatever. He was in attacking role, Dele Alli, and he just didn't impact anything whatsoever going forward. Yes, he was making some really good blocks in our own penalty area. He was like winning the ball quite a few times, but you need to be doing more going forward, Dele. You need to be doing more going forward, and he did nothing. Absolutely zilch.
Yeah, I felt he was confused about what role he was playing, to be honest, because I felt like a lot of the times he was literally on the halfway line or in the centre circle playing these nice flicks and into players like Kane and Lucas and trying to get them into play. But I feel like these touches need to be nearer the penalty area to be effective, because all well and good doing these like passes around the corner and then Lucas is away, but he's still got like a midfield and defence to get past, whereas if he's doing that around the penalty area, maybe they could be more dangerous. You get Kane and Lucas in more dangerous areas. So I felt like also he dropped back a lot to try and help cover for Winks and Hojbjerg, who were definitely stretched out wide. So he kind of filled in the central midfield a lot during that game to help, while the other central midfield are helping out the wing backs who are having trouble containing Zaha and Ayew. So I think his role was definitely confused. I think a lot of the time he wasn't even a lot of the time in the first half he was forward, but in the second half I didn't see him in the final third at all, because it was just Kane and Son pretty much the whole time, and I didn't feel like he had Kane and Lucas up front the whole time, and I didn't feel like he had the energy to be filling in centre mid and then helping out the attack as well. I think he was caught between the 2 roles a bit much, and he ended up being nowhere.
Yeah, completely agree. Lucas Moura, we both give him a 5. 5's all round for Lucas Moura. He was definitely trying, that's for sure. Every time he got the ball kind of like on the halfway line, trying to take on like 5 or 6 Palace players all at once. It was obviously never going to happen. He had no support whatsoever. I mean, there was even sometimes when him and Kane had it in the opposition half, just trying to 1-2 it around pretty much their whole team. It just wasn't going to happen for him. I felt for him the way Nuno set up the team, and when we had 10 men, he was just literally couldn't do anything.
Yeah, I felt for him. He had only 2 shots of the game, both from Lucas Moura, and that was it pretty much. He had a few times he was able to dribble past a few players, but open up a bit of space. There was one moment where Hojbjerg probably could have had a shot in the first half, just off the after a pass from Lucas, but he decided against it, and the chance was gone. I felt for him a bit, but yeah, I mean, there's not much he could have done with the tactics of the team, I think, although he wasn't given the platform to kind of get the best out of the space. There was no space for him, so the only person he had to aim for was Kane. The only person Kane had to aim for was him, and it was just very easy to defend against.
So easy. I've never seen anything easier, to be honest. But let's move on to the last of the starting 11. Harry Kane. Sim gives a 4. I give a 3. I thought he was completely anonymous in the game. I really did. Yeah, there were times he was dropping back and trying to beat the whole Crystal Palace team on his own. But the thing is, the difference between him and Lucas, why I gave Lucas a bit of a better mark, is that Lucas actually did threaten the Palace defence a bit with his running and his trickery, albeit nothing did come of it. But I just think because of the actual players that they are, Kane can't do that. That's not his role, and that's not what he does. So I think Kane was completely anonymous, and yeah, I can't give him above a 3.
Yeah, it was a tough day for Kane, really tough day. He tried, I could see him trying, but a lot of the time it was literally him against 3 or 4 defenders every time, and even then he was able to hold them off a couple of times, but he was literally holding them off near the halfway line, and like even if he was able to hold them off, then all of a sudden, you know, he's looking for a runner, someone to help him out, something to go for him, and he had to pass it back, or he had to go for a ball which was never on. And it was a real struggle for him. The only person he had to aim for pretty much was Lucas, because Dele was hardly helping out in that area. And if Lucas was marked, that was it pretty much. And there was no runners in behind. He didn't have Son to help him out. And he struggled. I felt for him, but he did struggle big time. And there was nothing. He didn't win many headers as well when balls played up to him. Didn't really have any chance, except for maybe in the first 20 minutes he had a few opportunities to get in the box, but the quality wasn't there to get the ball into him, and ended up not impacting the game at all, really.
Yeah. Let's move on to the substitutes. Joe Rodon came on for Eric Dier after 12 minutes. We both gave him a 7. I thought he was very impressive when he came on, especially when it was 11 on 11. I thought him and Tanganga working really well together. Great aerial presence, great challenges, great blocks. I mean, I was really impressed with Joe Rodon. When we did go down to 10 men, he was always fighting a losing battle with Davies to one side of him and Emerson to another side of him. So just wasn't to be.
Shame, you know, looking at his performance, to be honest, he could have started because he was great when he came on. I thought him and Tanganga were forming a great partnership on the pitch before the red card, and I thought it was a great reintroduction for Rodon. Really great blocks. He made a brilliant block, I believe, from Conor Gallagher in the second half. I can't remember. I think it might have been 0-0, and we were down to 10 men at the time, and he made
I remember,
a really great block
was,
from Gallagher to prevent a goal. That should have easily been 1-0 at that time. And I thought he was doing a really great job heading anything that came towards him, getting clearances. Obviously, passing-wise, he wasn't able to show off any sort of composure on the ball just because of the situation. But I thought he played a really good game, and he was unfortunate to be on a 7. He was 3-0. Losing side.
7.
Yeah, we gave him a 7, sorry. It was unfortunate to be on the losing side of 3 goals because I didn't think he deserved that, but when he had the defenders around him, it was a big struggle, and especially down to 10 men, it was a big struggle.
And last but not least of the playing staff is Ben Davies. We gave him a 3 all round, and as soon as he came on the pitch, I mean, we struggled big time. He's the one that gave away the penalty with his stupid arm flapping about in the penalty area, and he just struggled. He just struggled from the moment he came on to the moment he left the pitch, and he's a liability, especially when he plays at centre back in a back 4.
Yeah, I've always let's be honest, we only played him because we literally he was our last option. We had no other option to play there, except for maybe if you want to move Emerson inside and put Doherty there, you could have done that. But he decided to go Davies because left centre-back, he can play there and stuff like that. But you always thought him against Benteke, just height-wise, he's always going to be at a massive disadvantage. And he struggled massively when he came on. I feel bad for him because we always know he was going to struggle and he was kind of thrown to the wolves. But at the end of the day, he played awfully. Like, what can we say? You can't say anything other than he had a terrible cameo when he came on. We held out for about 20 minutes after he came on. Then obviously he gave away a really poor penalty, in my opinion. Had his arms out in a silly position. His arms should never be there. He's trying to block the cross, but he knows his arms out. There's always a likelihood that you could be punished, and he was punished. It was a penalty, and that obviously opened up the game. And once it went 1-0, it was game over with 10 men. So that cost us big time. He also was at fault for the second goal. I felt it could have been tighter to Edouard. Didn't get close enough to him. Allowed him to get the shot, and ended up not making him and getting a little deflection on him as well and going to the back of the net. So that killed the game. So Davies came on and, who knows if it was 10 men, but we still had Tanganga and Rodin, it maybe could even be a different story. But as Davies was one of the defenders with 10 men, ended up costing us big time.
Yeah. And let's move on to the manager, Nuno Espirito Santo. We gave him a 3. Definitely his poorest game so far as Spurs manager, that's for sure. And it's going to be hard to top that or to worsen that, to be honest. He overcomplicated things from the beginning, that's for sure, with his setup and his selection. I think both of them were really... I just don't understand why he didn't keep to the same formula that's been winning the first 3 games. I know we had injuries and stuff, but we had players that could have come in and filled those roles in the same system. He didn't do that. He overcomplicated it, and it was a disaster. It really was, and it wasn't helped with everything that happened in the game as well. Dier going off injured, Tanganga getting sent off. Look, he wasn't helped, but he could have helped himself a bit more by choosing the right setup, making better changes within the game. I think everyone could see at half-time that game was calling out for Ndombele or a Gil or someone to come on to give us a bit more of an attacking outlet, a bit more creativity in that side. He didn't do that. I mean, he nearly brought on Gil two or three times, which he never came on in the end. And look, he couldn't do anything about those defensive changes because of the injuries and the sending offs, but he could have started with a better team and he could have changed it and brought more creativity in when it was clearly needed.
Yeah, it was a very strange day for Nuno. I do feel for him on the one hand with what happened with Tanganga. He's not at fault for that, and then he brings on Davies and we're holding strong until a penalty, and then the penalty happens and that's game over. And there's not much he could have done about those kind of situations with Dier getting injured as well. So that from one side, yeah, that was some things he can't control. But the things he could control, I just don't understand his decision making going into the game. Like, you have a very solid, structurally solid team going into this game that has won 3 games 1-0, looking really solid, barely given away too many chances, and he decides to take Tanganga out of his right back slot, which we know up against Wilfried Zaha it's going to be a tough day for whoever's playing a right back. So he takes him out with Rodin, who came on and played well, so he could have easily started Rodin, judging by how well he played when he did come on. He gives Emerson his first start in that kind of position, which we didn't think was the best in our predicted lineup. We didn't think was the best course of action. He decided to do that. And then he decided, even though Skipp was fit, he decided to play Skipp and Winks together, which made absolutely no sense. And then he decided to change the whole formation to fit Winks and Skipp in. He decided to change the formation to do that, and he put Dele in behind Lucas and Kane, which meant we had a lack of width attacking wise without the fullbacks going forward. So the whole thing structurally was a bit of a mess, and I just don't know why he overcomplicated it so much to an extent that he's had 4 pretty much centre mids on the pitch, because Dele was pretty much playing as a centre mid a lot of the time yesterday. So I kind of felt like when we were attacking, we had pretty much 7 defensive players, or nearly 8 defensive players. Only Dele, Lucas and Kane were offensive players, and Dele a lot of the time was stuck doing defensive work. So we literally had just Kane and Lucas doing any sort of attacking a lot of the time, especially after the first 25 minutes when the pressing stopped. So it was a bit of a mess from Nuno, and it set us up in a situation where we were always under pressure. and Palace were always on top of us, and then it became a situation where once it went down to 10 men, it was so easy with Palace to convert that pressure into goals because they already had that pressure on us, and we weren't able to keep the ball at all. So I think Nuno has got a lot of thinking to go back to the drawing board as to how bad we were on the ball and how uncreative we were in possession, because that can't continue.
No, it can't. And, you know, to give away 62% possession to a Crystal Palace, it's shocking. It really is shocking. And look, the way we were structurally set up, and the way the men he put on the pitch, like we still didn't give away any chances at one chance maybe at in 11v11, but then once we did go 10v11, I mean, a host of chances came. But on the flip side of that, yes, we didn't give away many chances, but we created absolutely nothing. One half chance from Lucas, and that was it.
We created 2 shots the whole game, which is unacceptable. That's just on any game. That's pretty much. If you go to Man City away and have 2 shots, you'd say it's a poor day. You know what I mean? You should not be going into an away game with the quality we have, even in this game, with the quality we have in the squad, and only have 2 shots. That means there's a structural issue for me. So something to think about big time for Nuno, and it's a wake-up call after 3 wins on the trot, which, look, great to get 3 wins, but we all know from those 3 games there was always an issue creatively. Everyone said it after pretty much every game, that we need to sort out this issue of creativity, and it cost us big time in this game, and so that's something Nuno has to address now.
Definitely. All right, that is our player ratings. Roll on to the Europa Conference League on Thursday, followed by Chelsea on Sunday. So the games are coming thick and fast now. That is our player ratings. Let me know your player ratings in the comment section below. Like, subscribe and comment, and as always, come on you Spurs.